Today's show is brought to you by Bruce Fine Construction. If you can't find the house to buy, maybe it's time to build your house. Bruce built my home, and I know he can build your home too. Check him out today at brucefineconstruction.com or call at 570-362-1185. This episode is brought to you today by Whitehall Mortgage. Where there's a will, there's a Whitehall. Buying a home starts by getting a pre-approval, and nobody does it better than Doug in Dallas. Call them today at 570-562-7505 or apply online at whitehallmortgagefinancial.com. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Wychak. I'm the host of the Real Estate Right Now podcast. And today, what I want to talk about is there was a really good article, and I read a ton of these things. Some I really enjoy, some not so much. But I read an article. It was actually a survey that was conducted by a company called Lombardo Homes, and they took a deep dive on the millennial homebuyer. I really thought it was fantastic, so I want to talk about it today. And if you really like some of the data that I'm talking about, and you want to take a look at it for yourself, we'll put a link that you guys can click on here. It'll take you right to the actual study itself. But why do I think it was so good, and why do I think it was so interesting? Well, first and foremost, millennials are the largest generation of Americans, and they are entering or they are in their prime home buying years traditionally. So the question then is, are they prepared to buy? So you have this huge generation of Americans, they're entering their prime home buying years, but are they ready? And that's what this study took a look at. And here's what they found. And it was, it was another thing that I like about this survey. Sometimes I see a survey and it's 42 people and you're like, well, it's not much of a survey. This survey was over 1,000 people, just over 1,000 people. And this is what they came up with. 51% of the millennials out there, they say they're saving to buy a home. All right, so that's good, right? I know the common joke, oh, millennials, they're living in their parents' basements, blah, blah, blah. Well, 51% are saving to buy. That's the good news. The bad news is 77% of millennials say that the high cost of rent is hampering their ability to save to buy a home. I think that's really important, right? 77%. So more than 3 out of 4 think that their rent is impacting their ability to buy. And I think one thing that we do with young people, or one thing that young people do that I think actually works against them, they're always in a hurry to move out of their house. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but if paying rent is hurting your ability to buy a home, swallow your pride if you have to. Get back in with mom and dad if it's available to you, and save some money to buy a house. It's challenging out there. Now, another thing is 74% of millennials in this survey said that their debt is hurting their ability to save. And it might not be what you think. When they talk about debt, what the big four, the four biggest things, number one on that list, credit card debt. And I think that's a lot of us, right? Just Americans in general. We love credit cards, right? But the interest that you pay on those is not sustainable if you want to have financial freedom. Number two, student loan debt. Millennials are the group out there that have the biggest amount of student loan debt. And this is my time where I tell you, if you want to be a social worker, that's awesome. But don't spend $52,000 a year on college. You can't make it. It's not going to work. And I don't know who told you to follow your dreams. I agree, but make sure your dreams pay actual money. Unless you're independently wealthy, in which case this survey does not apply to you. Auto loans, that was the third biggest source of debt for millennials. And to me, I thought it was pretty shocking. Medical debt. I feel like millennials are too young to have a ton of medical debt, but I think health insurance is getting more and more challenging to buy here in America as well. Now, here's the part that kind of opened my eyes a little bit. 58% of millennials said, even if they have the money, they feel like they're not prepared to buy. And I'm going to touch on why I think that's significant here in a little bit. But 58% said even if they had the money, they're not prepared to buy. And what were the reasons that they gave for that? Well, they said, well, one, we can't afford a down payment, which tells me that maybe they don't know all the loan types that are available to them, because you don't need 20% down to buy a home. The other thing they said was they're not ready for the commitment of buying a home. And I do understand that, especially if you are someone who travels for work or you don't know where you want to be. Buying a home is a commitment, and if you feel you're not ready for it, then maybe it's not the right thing to do. And the other thing they said is they can't afford something nice enough to actually want it. And that one I thought is troublesome, because I don't think there's anything wrong with a starter home. I think back to the first house my wife and I bought. We bought a double block in a neighborhood that wasn't exactly the most desirable neighborhood of all time. But we tolerated that double block, and we lived there for a few years, much longer than my wife wanted to live there. But it set the foundation for us to be able to buy our second home and to be able to build the house that we're in now. I say this all the time, you don't get hired on Monday and then you're the CEO on Friday. There's some time here, right? Home ownership is the same way. There's nothing wrong with a starter home. One thing that made me feel good, and again, I'll touch on this later, 75% of millennials surveyed said that home ownership is still a goal that they want to achieve. I hear this all the time. People are saying, we're going to become a nation of renters. And I just don't know if that's true, especially when 75% of the millennials out there say home ownership is a goal for them. Now, here's the part of the survey that as a realtor I like, and I'll talk about why. What do millennials know about buying a home? And what we found out from this study is not all that much. 40% of millennials surveyed overestimated their buying potential based on their income. I remember when that happened to me. My first professional job, I think I was about 26 years old. I was making like 40 grand a year. And I think it was at that time, honestly, because I don't know, we just didn't talk about money in my family, and it just wasn't something that I don't think it was taught all that well in school. But I remember thinking as a mid-20 something about the life that I wanted to live. And I had a job that was with my college degree, felt real good about it. And I started to realize that the life I want to live it's not available for the amount of money that I'm making. And that's a tough realization to get there. And 40% of millennials overestimated their buying potential based on what they made. I talked about this a little bit earlier. 47% said they don't know what a good down payment is. Remember, one of the reasons they said they weren't prepared is because they said they can't afford the down payment. Well, look, if you're a millennial that served in the military, you might qualify for a VA loan with 0% down. Or if you want to live in the country, you may qualify for a USDA loan with 0% down, or an FHA loan with 3.5. There's a ton of products out there, and I don't think millennials understand how affordable a down payment could be. 46% said they did not know the average home price in the area that they're currently living in. 43% said they don't know what a good interest rate is. And 23% said they had no idea what the property taxes are in the area where they live. So why do I feel encouraged about this as a realtor? When I see that the largest generation of Americans wants to buy a house, but they feel like they're not prepared and they don't understand a lot about the process, what that tells me, the need for great realtors is more than ever before. Because if you don't know what you're doing and it's something that you want to do, it's imperative that you work with a professional that can help you reach the goals that you have for yourself. So if you're a millennial out there now and you're one of these people that I've described where you're wanting to buy a home and you're not sure about a down payment and you're not sure about interest rates and you don't know if you can do it or not, reach out to me. Reach out to another great realtor on my team, or if you're not from our area, any great realtor where you live. And I think they can help you get on the right path to home ownership. And if that's a goal, it's something that if you work together with a talented realtor, it'll become a reality for you. Thanks for joining us for today's episode, everybody. If you want to hear more content, follow us at Real Estate Right Now Pod on YouTube. Once you're there, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And if you want to follow me directly, check me out. It's Dave Wychak at Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, all the socials that you're already using.